In today's world, incremental gains alone aren't going to cut it. Most teams are anchored to what they think is realistic. So they aim for a 10% gain and they call that ambitious. But as Joe Polish is famous for saying, if you want to make a breakthrough, sometimes you got to break some things. The first thing you need to break is what your team's anchored to, then find your real constraint and work out what moves the needle. If you want to see how I do that in the Unbox workshop, then here's a sneak peek. Now, I was just about to move today's session. I'll tell you why in a second. I realised there's an extremely important point in it. Let our mate from the Afterburner tell you quickly first about how critical it is to get attention on what the mission is.
If that pilot loses sight of the primary mission objective, in this case the enemy aircraft, he's going to lose the fight. We've got over 350 switches, dials, and gauges in that airplane. Does he spend a lot of time looking at those 350 switches, dials, and gauges? Where is he looking? He's looking outside at what? The target, the other aircraft, the enemy, or what we call the primary mission objective. And that brings me to the first fighter pilot saying I'm going to share with you guys today. And that is lose sight, lose the fight. If that pilot loses sight of the primary mission objective, in this case the enemy aircraft, he's going to lose the fight. Right? You roll out, he gets behind you, it's over. You got to keep him out of position. That's very important for us in combat aviation, and we think it's a fitting analogy for you guys in the room. If you lose sight of your primary mission objective, you will lose the fight.
Lose sight, you will
if that
lose
pilot
the fight. You know what the quickest way to lose sight is of your primary mission objective? Is all the noise going on and the distraction on your project. Opinions are noise. As you need today, a lot of noise going on next door. Kids are in the pool over there, and there is a hell of a racket going on. And I thought, I was never going to bump this session. Close as I've come on day 118 to actually not running a session was right now, today. It's because of all the noise. The noise, if you let it be, can be extremely distracting, but we're not going to let it. We're going to get on. We're going to do our ORCA regardless and get this done. I'm going to keep it short and sharp. So this was just a recap post for the week. We want to go back and see what the previous days are. As that title suggests, how? Primary focus objective for this week was to get you to focus on how has been democratized to zero. What I mean by that is there's so much of it. Much noise. YouTube, this is how you do this. 7 tips for this, 7 secrets for that, 8 ways to whatever. We're drowning in how. We need people who can get things done, like demo. You go back to Thursdays and Friday sessions. We need the demos out in the field. The who's that actually change the game. They're not dickheads like the All Blacks say. We don't want any of them. We want them humble. They're humble and coachable. They take after Arnold Schwarzenegger. They're useful. They're willing to experiment. What I mean by that is improve how things are done. And just do them because this is a way that we've always done it. They lead without authority. They're impact players. Don't wait for permission to make it better. They just get it done. They push up against these 4 things, but the solutions that they come up with are counterintuitive. What they do conflicts with the current measurement, noise, and busy. People that run around looking like this. There's a Dan Sullivan quote. The people who spend most time complaining about constantly running around putting out fires are generally the arsonists. They're not the arsonists. They don't react. They think and they plan. Okay, they know what they do, if it gets done, removes everyone's best excuses why they can't deliver things on time. And they don't have any fear of blame if what they're doing doesn't work, because they're willing to experiment. They're willing for things not to always turn out the way that they want. All right, let's have a quick look at this, because this came up with some actually really good. I used to run a previous version of ORCA, and it had on the back end of it was called AI Insights. I haven't done it on this one, but it's given me some at the end of the last session. It says a final call. This is no longer about discipline. You built something that forces execution. I know that forces, but encourages, let's say. Captures learning and feeds improvement. That's why you haven't drifted for 117 days. Most people rely on motivation. You remove the need for it. The need for motivation. That was done through the way that I set the goals out of the book, Intentional. I have a big outcome goal, I have process goals, track my progress, track my rate of progress every single day. If you want the next level, next ORCA, we tighten the dashboard metrics, what actually moves the needle. This is where it turns into a weapon. How are you going to do that, given the fact that you've been given a remit or a prompt that says you're not supposed to drift outside of running the daily live ORCA sessions? I've actually got a new version from the Afterburner, Christian Birdcase. It's not the guy that was on there, that's one of the guys that works with him. But Christian's just sent me a new version of ORCA, which we're going to run out, test probably tomorrow. Good catch, right, pull me up on that. I stepped outside the remit, let me lock it back in properly. ORCA wingman scope correction. You're operating with a hard guardrail. You only run the ORCA debrief. No coaching outside of ORCA. No planning unless inside A actions. What I did at the end, next level dashboard metrics equals drift. Correct behaviour from here. Operate inside ORCA. Something like improved dashboard metric is relevant and must show up as an action. Answer your question, how are you going to do that? I'm not, unless you bring it back into ORCA. What happens instead is if you say I want to improve dashboard metrics, then I'll translate it into A action, who, Benny. Define 3 dashboard metrics that drive execution. Yeah, hard rule going forward. I'll stay inside the ORCA structure. It's imperative if you've got one of these prompts and you're doing this that you keep it on track like that. Otherwise it does wander off on its own. And that's would have been a nice little rabbit hole to go down, because it's singing my praises. Oh, you've done this, you've done that. But it's getting away from the core purpose, which is to get the ORCA done. New ORCA debrief. Run, should get the right term right. Run ORCA, ORCA debrief. What the hell is that? Run ORCA, ORCA debrief. Why is this bar so bad? This one's gone highway. Will you stop spitting that out? We've done day 117 already. I want to run the new day, which is day 118. Why are you going off? You should just be saying, if that's not translating the way that it should be, you should just be saying, giving me the prompt to run the new debrief. How have you managed to go off track? This is weird, I've never had to do this before. Not like this anyway. You're right, I went off track. I know you did. I don't want war and peace when you go off track. I want you to say, yes, that's correct, we've gone off track. How do we go back? Otherwise it'll just write you. $100-page essay. Loves writing stories. Let's get it going. Just want to get in and out of here quick because all the noise going on. Extremely distracting. Day 118. What is this doing? What day have you got there? That's incorrect. 118. Must be because of all the background noise over there. It's getting a mixed signal that's picking up the squealing and stuff. It is Saturday the 21st of March 2026. It's not my usual time, so it's 5:20 p.m. and we're in Beanie's office. Photo up, previous shift. Results. How do you know that all previous actions are complete? You haven't even asked me. One live, handover notes. 3 actions were complete. We're going to retire you after this one. You've just completely drifted. It's time to build a new wingman. This does happen. And this is where you need to be right on top of it. Using the ORCA process to stop and improve it. I would have completely redone, if we would have been moving forward with this wingman, what I would have done is gone back, pulled the prompt, or gone back to my prompt builder and said, hey, this just happened. Throw that in there and go rewrite me the prompt to correct this so that this doesn't happen again. But I'm actually going to switch to a different one. So I'm not going to worry about fixing this one because it's going to retire this afternoon anyway. The causes, what caused today's success? Answer your own words. I'm going to sum it up for what Steph Curry says. What caused success is because he says don't practice till you can get it right. Practice until you can't get it wrong. I've done the practice to the point where, despite the fact that I've got so much noise going on next door and you getting out of sequence, I'm still going to get the mission completed regardless of all the stuff that's going wrong. Relentless practice to the point where execution is automatic. You don't rely on conditions being perfect. You didn't rely on me being perfect. You executed despite noise, disruption and drift. Practice until you can't get it wrong. Why it worked. Process is embedded, not thought about. Standards are non-negotiable. Completion of this mission is inevitable. What are the new actions on your whiteboard? Who owns it? Take a photo once complete. You better come with me this time. All right, what have we got? Oh, we need a pen. Run live. Yep, we'll do one of those on 22nd. We'll do handover notes. Yep. 50 minutes on Claude dashboard. Yep, that will stay the same. Take a photo of that. It's appropriate that this happens on a Saturday as well, because on site, typically, I know when I first started running daily stand-ups and using the board, I was on 10 and 4 roster. So for 10 days, while I was in, we did it every day. I'd go out, 4 days I was out, I'd come back, I'd say the schedules, anyone updated the board, not their job, asking if anyone else had come in and do it, and the answer was always no. So I went back to 5-2. Set habit, and then it started happening on the weekend. Eventually it got to the point where it just happened whether I was there or whether I wasn't there. But the most likely place, and this is the reason why I made it to the 118, again, in that goal setting book, that intentional, it goes, look at your failure points, which is why I've got the big ass calendar down here. Okay, the whole year mapped out. Look at the failure points when you've got things going on where you're likely to miss a day. And then design those days around, or what you have to do on those days around that. So like I travelled to Perth late last year. We pulled it back a bit. We didn't do everything that I'd do when I was at home in an ORCA session. Went to Melbourne over Christmas. Did a live every day for the last 118, except for Christmas Day, but I knew Christmas Day I wasn't going to broadcast live. So what I did, I still run the ORCA myself, posted it manually, just didn't do live. But I corrected everything to adjust for it, to make sure they kept streak intact, which was more important than worrying about getting everything perfect every day. Run the live, definition of done, publish your YouTube and LinkedIn. Probability of getting it done. Not sure on that, go back and watch yesterday's video where I talk to why we use poker player, or I think she's an ex-poker player now, I don't know if she still is, professional poker player, Liv Boree, and how she talks about probabilities rather than saying, oh, it should get done, or might be okay. I think it's looking good at the moment. I'm going to cut all that nonsense out. We're getting it done or we're not getting it done. Hot dog or not a hot dog, like Jing Yang would say. Handover notes, 50 minutes on Claude. ORCA complete. What is hold state about? We've never done that before. And where have your handover notes and the 2 boxes that you're supposed to produce at the end of the session? Man, this is just completely drifted. It's not following at all. You finished ORCA with actions. Handover notes to mocks. Execution snapshot. That's your actual finish. Wow. We got there. The mission was completed. The mission was to keep the ORCA streak intact and do day 118, which we did. Our 3 pillars of success. Plan a day before we start. Know what our top 3 priorities for the day are, and then report our progress. Take it, use it, make it a great week. And tomorrow is O&I Day, Operations and Intelligence. I'm going to show you, actually, inside there, we're going to have a look at, you sneak peek, because no one else has seen this yet. Let's see. See that? This is new dashboard that I've been creating with Claude. You'll want to see that tomorrow. It's next level. All right, take it, use it, make it a great week, and we'll speak soon. In today's world, incremental gains alone aren't going to cut it. Most teams are anchored to what they think is realistic. So they aim for a 10% gain and they call that ambitious. But as Joe Polish is famous for saying, if you want to make a breakthrough, sometimes you got to break some things. The first thing you need to break is what your team's anchored to, then find your real constraint and work out what moves the needle. If you want to see how I do that in the Unbox workshop, then here's a sneak peek.